Good morning, everyone. Thank you all for joining us. I see a couple of familiar faces. Thanks to the people who've attended past webinars for attending this one as well. Today we have with us Deon Groenewald. He is a trainer at Action Factory, and that's one of our agencies here at the ICR Register. And Deon is an expert at life coaching and business coaching, and in general, just coaching on all subjects. Many of you will probably be familiar with him simply because he does a lot of these type of pro bono sessions, either through his own agency or with us. So he's already been generous enough to donate his time twice, both to help you guys, and today he's gonna talk about being a better you. Now I'll definitely leave it up to THERESA and Deon to explain how that works. From my side, I am the host for today. That means I'll be in the background answering your questions. So if you have any questions or problems, feel free to just talk to me in the chat. If you have any specific questions for Deon that you'd like answered, there's a Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. If you click on that and type in your question there, it'll come directly to me, and I'll make sure that Deon either answers it at the end because he's doing a presentation today, or if there's a spot in the middle, he might pause. But if you see your question not being answered immediately, just be patient because we will get to all of them at the end. We have a small code of conduct that applies to all webinars. It's quite simple. You don't even have to read it. In general, it comes down to just be friendly, be supportive, and let's make it a great webinar. With that, that's my piece. I'll give it over to THERESA, and she can introduce Deon and what we're going to talk about today.
I can't follow GIEL because he's done everything already. But guys, I think I'm looking forward to today's session. On Saturday, I joined a session with Deon, and I think some of the names that I see popping up on the chat session also was on that session on Saturday about shattering a glass ceiling. And I loved it. I absolutely loved it. There's so much, it just pivots is the new word. It just throws your mind a bit, and you start thinking about yourself and what you're doing in a different perspective. And I think where we are today, being with COVID, not knowing what to do, not only in our personal lives, but business life, Deon has magnificent ideas. So I'm really looking forward to this. We are hosting it, and when I say we, it's the ICR Register, although I see some of the names that are on this is not necessarily coaches, but also part of some of our other registers, which is on mediation side. So it's not purely just coaching, but obviously the session is general, and it's about becoming a better you. And there's no one better to explain all of this than Deon. So I'm sitting in excitement waiting for this. Thanks so much, Deon. Thanks for your time. He is generously, as GIEL says, donating, giving his time to us. And it's fantastic to see the uptake of you guys responding to this. So please, if there's anything we can help with on our side, ICR Register or ADR Register, just let us know. We're not going anywhere. Over to you, Deon.
Thank you, THERESA and Phil. And thank you, ICR. Before I start, I'm actually going to do, every time I'm on a webinar where the ICR is present, I do a bit of an ICR sales pitch. Not expected, not requested, but I am going to do it. So everybody on here, you are aware of the fact that ICR is hosting these webinars from different speakers, different platforms all around the world. And, you know, today is National Coach or International Coaching Day. And I just want to say thanks, ICR. You guys are doing a great job. You stepped up and you started creating a platform where coaches can come together. Like-minded people can share ideas, learn from each other, and just, you know, better ourselves and have a beautiful ripple effect. So I'm very, very grateful for that. So thank you. So that's from my side, if that's okay. I hope you guys don't mind if I'm sending ICR. You already sold so well. So congratulations to that. So any of my students, if you're on here, you're not an ICR member yet, time to get registered, guys. Let's make it happen. Let's support organizations that bring us benefit. So let's start today's chat. This is going to be a chat. So guys, if you want to ask questions in between, you are most welcome. I'm going to talk to you guys about a subject that is really close to my heart. And that is, and I call it the New Age disease. So the New Age disease is three things that we find our society is really struggling with in general. And now with COVID and lockdown coming in, this has just increased to a ridiculous level. And the three things I'm talking about is stress, anxiety, and depression. I call these the new age diseases simply because they have escalated, they've multiplied. Millions of people around the world are struggling with this. If we just isolate one of them and we take the word stress, and I asked anybody in this room, how many people do you know that are experiencing a lot of stress? How many people do you know that's experiencing a lot of anxiety? How many people do you know that's, because of the stress and anxiety, in a state of depression? So if in the chat, if you guys can sort of just give an indication, you know, if you take an average of 10 people, how many of them are really struggling with one of those three things at the moment? Can you guys give me some indication in the chat? Let's just see what is coming out. All right, a lot of Deon's answering here, but that's only because 10, 10, 8 out of 10, 6 out of 10, absolutely. So clearly what's coming out is that we all understand that this is a massive crisis at the moment. And as I said earlier, I think COVID has really pushed the limits of stress and anxiety in our society. But for me to approach it and say, here's a solution while I am in lockdown, but it doesn't work outside of lockdown, I think is merely a temporary solution. So I like looking at solutions that span across a variety of different environments, because even when we come out of lockdown a couple from now, we're going to have other situations in our lives that could create stress and anxiety. So if we can find a solution that we can apply and live a sustainable life without stress and anxiety, I think then we're winning. So that's what I want to talk to you guys about today. What I believe is one of the key reasons why we found ourselves in that situation in the first place. So let's start this talk. It's a little bit of a training concept. So again, guys, if you want to ask questions, please ask. So let's talk about how this starts. Usually we find ourselves in stress or anxiety, in my belief, when there is a disconnect between what I call my true driver and a false driver. So let me explain what that is quickly. If we go through life, generally, what we do as humans, we set goals, we strategize, we look at things around us and we say, I want to do this, I want to achieve that, I want to be this type of person, whatever the case may be. So I'm going to take a very simplistic scenario. So I'm going to create a fictional character called Johnny. So Johnny goes through life and Johnny looks at one of his friends. And I love using this story because it's very real. And some of you guys are going to relate to this one. So Johnny goes through life and he looks at his friend. His friend has got a business. His friend is very successful. His friend is very wealthy. His friend looks extremely happy. His friend has got a beautiful life partner next to him. His friend drives a fancy car, lives in a nice house. His friend owns a beautiful boat. Whatever the case may be. He looks at his friend and he says, I like what I see there. And I want that. Because when he looks at his friend, it seems to him from the outside that everything that his friend has is what will make him happy. So what Johnny does is in his mind, he has an internal dialogue. And he says, my friend has got all of that. And he's clearly happy. And the reason he's got that is because he's running his own business. Let's call him a Bitcoin trader. So Johnny's friend is a Bitcoin trader and he's making lots of money. And Johnny looks at this and says, I want that. So now the brain goes into, how do I fulfill that? And the brain goes into an intellectual strategy mode. And what we tend to do is we now reverse engineer. So we look at the external results of someone else's life. We say, I want those results. And then we reverse engineer it. And we say, how did he or she achieve those results? And in Johnny's friend's case, it is he started a business and he's trading online or doing Bitcoin or whatever the case may be. So Johnny's brain tells him the way for me to achieve it is by doing the same thing, or copying it, or using that model as a successful model, tweaking it a little bit maybe, and adapting it into my life. So Johnny starts his business. He resigns from his corporate job. He starts his business. And for the next 5 years, Johnny works 24 hours a day into a coma. He works incredibly hard because Johnny knows to be successful, you need to work hard. He's been told this his entire life. And 5 years later, Johnny has a medical problem. And he goes to see the doctor, and the doctor says, your biggest problem, my friend, is your levels of stress, your anxiety, and you're suffering from manic depression. Because Johnny has been working extremely hard. Johnny has not been making the money he's been making. Because Johnny has been working for 24 hours a day, he's had no time for any social life, so no partner wants to spend time with him. He doesn't have the money for that fancy house or the boat or the car or anything like that. And Johnny's brain cannot connect the dots. He doesn't know what's happening. He doesn't know what's going wrong. So what he does, he's constantly asking, why is this happening to me? What am I doing wrong? What is happening that for some reason I'm doing everything, and I want you guys to listen to this one. I'm doing everything logical to achieve success, but for some reason, it's just not happening. And that internal conversation is running around in his head, day in and day out. And he doesn't know what's going on, and he's desperately trying to find an answer. And in that environment, he starts to feel absolutely overwhelmed. Stress becomes the norm. Stress becomes the average day. Waking up in the morning with fear of what's going to happen today, going to sleep at night, going, this wasn't a good day, I hope tomorrow's going to be better. And Johnny gets into this cycle, and he becomes anxious, and he lives a lifestyle of anxiety. And he starts drinking all kinds of energy drinks, hoping that this is going to elevate his level of capabilities. But all he finds is himself in the same scenario. So let's see from the group here today, there's about close to 40 people on this group. How many of you have experienced, maybe not directly, but indirectly or to a certain degree, exactly that in your life? Let's get some honest answers here. If you have, let's get a yes in your chats. Let's see who's sharing this experience and who's got a clear understanding of the situation. There we go. This is our current disease in our society. And there's a very simplistic reason behind this. Reason is, if you look at historically, at the moment while I'm talking to you guys here, I'm 57, so I was born in the early 60s. And I remember growing up, at that time in the late 60s and early 70s, to a certain degree, certain components of life were simplistic. For you to be successful, you either went and you got a degree, and you became a professional, or you went and you got a trade, and you became a tradesman. It was simple. There were two choices, and you either chose one of those. Maybe if you were lucky, it happened that you started a business, but that was not the norm in those years. Getting a degree or becoming a tradesman was the norm. And it was a very simple, simplistic choice. The second thing that was quite interesting those years, there was no conversation around the fact that you should enjoy your career. You entered a career because you needed to create stability. Because historically in those years, the previous 50 years were years of extreme instability. So the main goal people had was to create some form of stability for themselves, their family members, and their children, and the generations. But life changed. Society changes, our norms, our values, everything around us changed. Today, when people start making decisions about their future, we need to ask the first question, and that is, what do they base those decisions on? We base those decisions very often on our heroes. Now, our heroes today, we know, are not true heroes. They are socialites, they're actors, they're performers. Some people are famous for merely being famous. We base our opinions and our value system and what we want to achieve in life on what our social media and our information streams are giving us. And what that does in our minds, it creates what I call a false value system. So when Johnny looked at his friend, Johnny had what I call a false value system. Johnny looked at his friend and he looked at the results of his lifestyle, what he believed to be success and joy and happiness. And he based a strategy in his life on that. Now, that's the wrong way of going around it. Because, you see, Johnny, to a certain degree, based his strategy on what his friend had. And here's the key. See, the internal dialogue that Johnny had, this is a very subtle key. If you get this one, your life's going to be different. The internal dialogue that Johnny had was, and this is the difference, he wasn't looking at his friend and only saying, I want that. Part of what he was saying, I don't want this. So Johnny's strategy was not only based on what he wants. Johnny's strategy was also based on what he does not want. So Johnny had what I call an avoidance strategy. He started doing things in his life to avoid something else. That's called an away from strategy. Now, every away from strategy will fail. I'll say that again. Every away from strategy will fail. Let's look at it from a different angle. If we take one of the largest industries in the world, it's weight loss. Weight loss is a multi-billion-dollar industry around the world. And the reason it's such a big industry is because it's based on an away from strategy. People go on diets because they don't want to be overweight. Listen to those words. People go on a diet because they don't want to be overweight. That is an away from, an avoidance strategy. I'm doing something because I don't want that. That strategy is only sustainable as long as the fear of what you don't want is big enough to scare you into current action. But if your strategy is built on something you don't want, you live in a fear-based avoidance mindset, which means you are installing stress and anxiety. Because I don't want that. That's a fear-based concept. But there are times in life when a little bit of pleasure overrides that fear. So if we take the diet industry as an example, it works to the point where the desire for that beautiful piece of cake overrides the fear of being overweight. And the moment that cake overrides the fear, strategy collapses. So an away from strategy, number one, is never sustainable. Never ever. It has to be a toward strategy. Now, a lot of coaches understand this concept, but there's a different level to this. When we talk about it has to be a toward strategy, the toward strategy should not be based on the end goal or the outcome. In Johnny's case, what he did is he based his strategy on a potential and hopeful outcome that he wanted to achieve. So Johnny looked at his friend and said, he's got time, money, beautiful things in life, lovely partner, he looks happy. That was an outcome. And he built a strategy inside of his own life to achieve that outcome. That's the reverse engineering concept. So how should we do it? How should we build a strategy? How should we set goals? How should we strategize amazing, successful outcomes that work? The key is very, very simplistic. The key lies in the following. Number one, our true goals in life are not intellectual goals. We need to realize that we need to scrap that concept. Thinking you know what you want, thinking you know what you want is not the safest approach in life. Here's the way we need to look at it. And I'm going to break this up in 4 steps. The 4 steps are simplistic. The first one is identify true driver. The second step is structure intent. The third step is strategize. And the 4th step is reap outcome. I didn't say plan, I said reap. So let's start with this. true intent, or true driver. What is a true driver? A true driver is always an emotion that's driving you. A true driver is always emotional. As humans, we are emotional. We live in an emotional state all of the time. I know there's some people say, no, I'm not emotional. I can control my emotions. No, we can't. No, we don't. We are emotional beings, and we make 95% of our decisions based on an emotional state. So let's first and foremost accept the fact that we are emotional. So here's my big. What emotion do you want to experience most of the time? 80% of your day. Most of the time whilst you are awake. What is that emotion? Now the first word has come through already. Joy. I want you guys to give me those emotions. Give them names. Tell me, what is that emotion you want to experience all of the time? What is that one emotion? If you wake up on a Monday morning and it's time for you to go to work, to do whatever it is you need to do in life, what is that one emotion that's going to wake you up, get you out of bed, and really get you? And a lot of words, contentment. It's coming through. Joy. All right. Love these words coming through. Now, here's the key. Here's the secret. Your true driver is always based on your true desired emotion that you want to experience in life. Now, some people say the word freedom. Some people are saying satisfaction. Some people are saying joy. We all have these words. We all have these magnificent, beautiful words that describe a true emotion. Now, you need to ask yourself a simplistic question. Not on the outcome. You need to ask yourself a simplistic question. What comes extremely natural to me that if I do it, I will experience that emotion? I'll say it again. What comes extremely natural to me, so if I do it, I will experience that emotion? What we do as humans, let me explain this concept. What we do as humans, we look around us and we look at other people. And we want to emulate other people. We want to act as other people. We want to look at successful people, then we want to replicate their strategies, and we want to do what they do. True success in life, if you look at the successful people around the world, what they do is they do what they find very easy and very natural. The moment you realize your true driver, which is emotion, is linked to your natural capabilities, skills, talents, and gifts, and you can make that connection, you've hit the sweet spot. That's when you've hit that point in your life where your life cannot be the same again anymore. I had to realize this years ago. You know, before I got into this industry, I used to be a consultant, and I used to, manage businesses and people and everything else. And I was really good at it. I want you to hear my statement. I was really good at it, according to society. I was making lots of money, according to society. I had everything that a man in his mid-40s could ever want. And then I realized I was living in a complete state of stress, anxiety, and depression. I was hating my life. I had this external vision, this projection of success. Everybody that looked at me says, wow, man, this guy's really, he's hitting it. Wow, I wish I could be him. But internally, I was desperately unhappy. And then I woke up one day and I realized, I love this a feeling. I love this feeling of being awesome. That's my emotion, by the way. Being awesome. Now, what does awesome mean to me? Awesome to me means, and this is my natural gift. I want you guys to listen how I've merged these two. My natural gift is to take complex concepts, of the human brain, the emotion and the structure and the strategy and how we think. To break them down and make them very simplistic for the average person to understand. So I'm a storyteller and a teacher and a trainer. That's what I do, and I do it extremely naturally. You wake me up at 3 o'clock in the morning, and I'll just start talking about these things. I go on holiday, wherever I go in my world, this is what I do. I cannot not do it. I don't know how to stop anymore. But to me, it's something that I do extremely natural. Now, most people, when they look at what they can do, they look at other people and they say, I wish I could do that. No, stop looking at that. You know, I've got a friend. She is a magnificent artist. Give her a piece of paper and a pencil, and she will start drawing things. And she'll draw the most incredible images. I can't draw. I mean, I can't even draw a stick man. Some of you guys have been in my class, and you know I tease myself when I call myself Picasso. I've got no artistic capability. I've got no artistic capability. And it doesn't bother me, because that's not my natural gift. That is not what I need to base my life on. If you've got natural artistic capability, that's one of your natural gifts. What is it that you find extremely easy? Now, here's the funny thing about my friend. When she draws like that, I say, wow, that's fantastic, amazing. You're so talented. You know, it's one of the first statements that comes out of her mouth. This is so easy, everybody can do it. Do you hear that? One of the statements we make about our natural capabilities and gifts and talents is we believe it is so easy that everybody can do it. And therein lies the mistake. Because it's not that easy, and not everybody can do it. Are you hearing me? You need to sit down and decide, go internal. Go sit down, go find what emotion truly drives you. What emotional state do you want to live in every single day? Then look at your true gifts, talents, and capabilities. If you struggle to find them, ask people around you. Ask people that love you. Ask people that care about you. Ask people that you work with. Ask people that you spend your off time with. Ask those around you. When you look at me, what do you notice? It's different. What do you notice in me that's my natural gifting? So what we need to do is we need to take our natural gifting. We need to take the emotion. Now we need to merge these two. That merging of the two, that's what I call intent. The moment you find the gift, you find the emotion, bring them together, and you call it intent. Now, intent is when I take the emotion and the gifting, and I pull both of them into my intellectual brain, and I give it a description. It's about a 1 or maybe 2 sentence description. The moment I do that, pennies and epiphany moments should start dropping in your head. In my case, what I did is I sat down, I said, what is my emotion? My emotion is awesome. Now, I use the word awesome because I want to be awesome by making other people awesome. I love that concept of awesome, being awesome. It just, I don't know, it just stirs something in me. It makes me enthusiastic. It makes me happy. So what I did is I said, okay, for me to be awesome, what's my natural gift? Talking. My wife calls it my verbal diarrhea, whatever the case may be. She loves me. The talking, the taking concepts, constructing them, breaking them down, and explaining. So now I had to construct intent. And for me, it was very simplistic. Because the moment I had that first understanding, to write down intent was a very easy process. Because now all I had to do was write down, training people to be better. So, what better industry? Because then it was quite easy. NLP, life coaching, inspirational speaker, whatever you want to call it. Now that in writing down that intent became a very easy concept. So how do you know if the statement in your intent is the correct statement for you? Very easy. Take a piece of paper, write down at the top, I am. Start writing one sentence that you believe is intent. Write the next one. Keep writing. Keep writing until something inside of you stirs so profoundly that part of you wants to burst out in tears. I sometimes tell people you write until you cry. Because if you allow yourself that freedom to start expressing what's called free writing, and you start that writing, the same statement over and over, you write intent, I am. And you write that statement of intent over and over, even if it takes you 5 days, it matters not, because this is the most life-changing thing you can possibly do. You write that statement until you look at it and it says, that is me. Until it rings so true in you that you want to stand on the tip of a mountain and scream it to the world. It has to stir a tremendously deep emotional state inside of you of a true absolute epiphany. And that moment when it hits, life changes. Because then you have found your true intent. That's the only way you can truly find it. So the question of intent is, what are you going to call yourself? What is that descriptive sentence? If you meet someone in the lift or in an escalator, if you meet a person, you got literally 30 seconds to talk to them. What is that one sentence that's going to come out of your mouth? If you say that to them, describing who you are and what you do, where you're going to feel fulfilled and really true, that's your intent. The moment you found your intent, the next step becomes very easy. So a lot of people really struggle on how to build a strategy to be successful. If you have your intent statement in place, the strategy is extremely easy. The strategy has got a variety of options, approaches, and diverse ways of achieving it. The strategy becomes one of the easiest things to construct. And as coaches, we understand that's the whole goal strategy, the steps on how to achieve whatever you want. If your intent is pure and true and real, the strategy is very, very simplistic. Because inside of your mind, you have got multiple strategies on how to achieve your true drive and your true intent. It is a very natural and easy thing for you to do. Now, here's the key. Once you have your strategy in place, to follow those steps becomes fun, pleasurable, joyful, exciting, blissful, and just a lucky experience. And you know what's most phenomenal about this? Your outcome is automatic. See, what we do is we chase outcome. Outcome is not something you plan intellectually, build a strategy around to attempt to achieve. This is the key. I want you to hear this. Outcome is a natural result of a proper strategy based on a true intent, instigated by your real driver and your true driver. Can you see the difference? What we do as humans, usually we want to start with the outcome and we want to reverse engineer. Outcome is not a goal. And I know for a lot of coaches, this is, no, I've been in well-formed outcomes. I've been basing my coaching practice on outcomes. If we don't know the outcome, how do we strategize? Exactly. That's the wrong way. That's why. Stress, anxiety is one of the greatest diseases we have in our society. It is because we base everything on what the outcome should be. We're starting too far into the future. And we're ignoring the present, the real me. My value system that's based inside of a true emotion. And we forget the fact that we are emotional creatures. We are not impressed, in all honesty, by outcomes. As human beings, we are impressed by feeling great, by feeling free, by feeling content, by having a sustainable, positive emotional state. If chasing the wrong outcome creates stress, anxiety, and depression, I ask a simplistic question. What are you doing? Where are you going? Chasing the wrong outcome will only, it's a disease. Stress, anxiety, and depression is a disease. How does that serve humanity? How does it serve anybody? Understand that outcomes is the result and not the goal, then that penny can drop. I trust that was quite a challenging concept for some of you guys. And I know that some of you guys have got some questions. And I'm going to, let's open this up to Q&A and let's talk about this and let's see what you guys have to say about it.
So Deon, thank you. Yeah, definitely. I've been talking at the side with THERESA a little bit as well. So I know she has some questions as well. But I'm just going to start off with the ones that we already had some questions during your talk. I'm just going to run through them individually, and then anyone else, if you have any questions, at the bottom there's a Q&A bar. Just click on it, and whatever you want to ask Deon and whatever it might be about, feel free. So the first question is from Yvette. How do you find out what you might be good at, what your natural capabilities and skills are? You know, what process or what steps or tips could you give someone to help them along that?
All right.
Finding that.
There's this word we use, and, you know, I get a lot of people that come to me and they ask me the same question. The second question they ask me is, if I knew what I'm passionate about, I would follow my passion. Your natural gifts and your passion is actually very, very close. They're exactly the same. So how do you find it? The simple answer is you're not going to find it. It's going to find you. Say that again. You're not going to find it. If you're going to look for it, you're going to struggle to find it, because then what you're doing is you're going analytical and you're going, you know, you're going to hit paralysis by analysis. So don't try and intellectually figure it out. Here's what you need to do. It's a very simple thing. What is the most logic thing that's at your fingertips that you can do today? It's going to make you feel good. I'm saying it again. What is the most logic thing that's at your fingertips that you can do today? It's going to make you feel great. Now, there's a technique that I teach that's very unique, which is called a values exercise. And that's to assist people to really try and find your true values. So I'm just going to very briefly bring that in here. And I'm not going to do the whole technique, but I'm going to give you some basics of it. And that might assist. Things that make you happy does not feel like you're putting in effort. They come naturally. It does not feel like it's effort. It's something that's just very easy and simplistic. And you do it with, you know, there's just the energy to do it all of the time. Number two, there's always people around that you can do it to, or once more of it. People just start coming out of the woodwork for it. They're just there. I personally, when I teach, I've got no idea where all people always come from. I've just constantly got platforms and platforms and platforms of people where I teach. They're just there. I don't struggle to find them. Let's put it that way. Number three, money is not an issue. Money is not an issue around it. In other words, your natural gifting does not require a lot of money to apply or to practice. You don't need a fortune to do it. Number four, time. There's no shortage. Sorry, I didn't run through it all. I've got this thing in my head, time, effort, money, people. Time is just available for it. If you believe your natural gifting is something that you never find time for, and you really struggle to find time, I can tell you now already, it's probably not a natural gifting. So there's 4 tick boxes: time, effort, money, people. If it takes time, if you don't have the time for it, it's not your natural gifting. Effort, if it takes effort, not a natural gifting. Money, if you need a lot of money to make it happen, you don't have that money, not a natural gifting. People, if you can't find the people to do it with, not a natural gifting. Those are 4 tick boxes. If all 4 are ticked, then you're getting very, very close to it. So how do you know what it is? What I said earlier is don't try and look for it. Ask a simple question. What is at your fingertips at the moment that you can go and do? Now think about this quickly. If you love writing and you're very good in creative writing, do you have a pen? Do you have a piece of paper? Do you have a laptop? Do you have a keyboard? Do you have Word on your computer? Start writing. Nothing's stopping you. You've got it. You don't need money for that. Doesn't take a lot of time if you're a good writer. Good writers can sit down, they can write for hours, they can start writing now, finish tomorrow morning at 3 o'clock. They can write for 12 hours non-stop, and it doesn't even feel like effort. So what is at your fingertips now? Start doing that. The results will show you that's your true gifting and your natural gift. I hope that answers your questions.
Yeah. So one other thing, because obviously that's how can you find what you feel like you're good at and discover yourself. But what I think, and this is a question we have as well, what I think people can run into is if you've tried enough things or you keep trying new things and they don't work. What if you end up with that feeling, what if I'm not good at anything? If you just keep supplementing that with trying new things, you can't find perhaps what your true drive is. My own personal experience has taught me that I think everyone has at least one thing that they're personally very skilled at, whatever that might be, and it might take a while to find it. But what would you say to someone like that, where if they are struggling and they are saying, I might not be good at anything?
Yeah, a lot of people believe because, and I think we need to look at this from a different angle. There's a principle that I teach about the difference between, what is real failure. And I just want to explain something quickly to the audience. Failure, the concept of failure is not natural. The concept of failure is a man-made principle. Think about this quickly. If a child understood the concept of failure, how many times will they try and walk, stumble, and then give up? If a child understood the principle of failure, how many times will they try and talk, realize people are not understanding what they're saying, and they say, well, clearly I can't do this, and they'll give up. The principle of failure is something that you have to be taught by someone else in your life to have a true comprehension of it. The way our society functions very much is we are measured by our failures, which is in truth not really there. There is no such thing as failure. There's only feedback. Everything in life is a learning experience. Everything in life is a learning experience, and everything in life needs to be repeated a few times for the true natural skill to fully manifest. So let's take someone, I'm going to take my friend that's an artist. My friend didn't wake up one morning and then realize, I'm a brilliant artist. What she did is she loved drawing. So what did she do? She sat down and she started drawing. She started drawing. And she started drawing. And she started drawing. And then the more she started drawing, she started to realize, but the level and the speed at which I am developing in this drawing is incredible. I'll give you another example. Look, I had a friend in the early 90s. Early 90s, I decided I am going to learn how to play the guitar. So I went and I bought myself a guitar. And I was singing one of the easy songs, was House on the Rising Sun or something like that. I can't remember the song. And I was playing the same song over and over, trying to sing it. And one day I came home and my guitar was missing. And what happened is the wife decided to donate it because she could not handle singing that horrible song in my absolute tone-deaf ears. And it was just a complete disaster. But during the same time, a very good friend of mine also decided he is going to play the guitar. And in the time frame that it took me not to be able to learn how to play House on the Rising Sun, this guy ended up playing guitar in a band. In 6 months, he went from playing his first note on a guitar to playing in a band. Did he have a natural musical gift? Yes. Because the speed and the possibility of accelerating the capability and the skill was by far better than everybody else around him. So that's one of the ways we can measure if this really truly. And a lot of people, and I just saw a quick word coming up somewhere in the chat, and I saw the word soft skill. There is no such thing. Soft skill, to take something and call it a soft skill is probably one of the biggest lies you're going to tell yourself. There's no such thing. Take any soft skill, type it into Google, and notice how many people are making a living from it. There is no such thing. That's a complete, utter nonsense. There is skill or not. There's no such thing as a soft skill. That's just, I don't know who came up with that word. Because what it does, it takes a skill and now it makes it soft. It diminishes its true value. I make a living by talking to people. Is there anybody in this room? Let me just double check quickly. Is there anybody here that's got a soft skill of talking? Can you guys all communicate with each other? Is everybody in this room capable of communicating and talking to others? Now, who would ever think making a living by talking is possible? That's a soft skill. Never undervalue the skill, because what you undervalue, someone else doesn't have to the same level, capability and gifting as you, and they value that talent you have. They're prepared to exchange value for it. They're prepared to take money, give it to you, to experience what you are capable of. Never undervalue it, and never call it a soft skill. It's not. It's a unique skill. It's a beautiful skill. If there's any other questions, then
yeah, I'm just going to pass them on. We have a whole bunch of them, so I think we just run by them. And you see a couple in the chat, so if you want to integrate one or more, then you're fine with that. But otherwise, I'll just pass them on to you. Because we have a question from Clint about writing different I am statements. So I'll just quote his entire question. That probably is easiest for you to answer. So he asks, do I need to keep writing different I am statements until you discover the one?
Once you discovered the one I am statement, you don't have to keep writing. Obviously, you don't have to write more. So I'm just going to throw this in for some people. You know, there's a concept in theology that's called the I am statement, which is I am that I am. And some people add a little comma into that, and they say I am, and then they point to say that I am. So the I am statement is actually what's called the biggest creative statement. It is the internal creative statement. So the moment I write I am, and I keep writing, so I write, so in my case, for example, I'll just give you a quick example. Let's assume my natural gifting is plumbing, real plumbing. And it's you know, to fix pipes and connect pipes or whatever the case may be. So I'm not sure exactly what it is. I'll start writing. So I'm going to say, I am good at welding pipes. I am good at fixing leaks. I am good. And I'll keep writing until I come to a statement that says, I am the best plumber in the world. Now, I'm giggling a little bit inside because I remember I heard about this plumber. But anyway, so I'm going to make a statement, and eventually I'll come to a point where I say, I am the best plumber in the world. And when I read that statement, something's going to ring true in my head. So I'm going to start, I am the best plumber in the world. And if it rings true and it fills me emotionally, and it actually, quite honestly, wants to make me cry, it's just joy, I want to finish that statement. I'm going to say, I am the best plumber in the world. I am. Then I've got my statement. Then I've got my true intent. Now, if you know you're the best plumber in the world, how easy is it for you to strategize? Beautiful strategy to achieve it. Simplistic. Did I answer that question, I hope?
Yeah, you did. He's already responded as well. And the one thing that I'd add, just because it's my own experiences, where you wrote down, you know, what makes me passionate. And if it is something like writing, and then you can't perhaps figure out, you know, what do I want to write about, I'd merge that with things that you enjoy. So if it's popular culture or if it's you know, if it is coaching, or if it's software, then try and merge the two and write about them and just try it out. You know, one of the things, I'm blessed because I found it quite early, but I work a lot with national governments and legislation. And that's something I find quite interesting to work on. But in general, I just really enjoy writing documents such as this and working with coaches. And so really try it out and try and find out what you're passionate about, what you think you're good at, and figure out ways to merge the two as well. That's at least what's helped me.
Absolutely. And I want to link what you just said, if I may, with the principle, and this is something that, you know, this penny needs to drop with most people. There is no failure, there's only feedback. Everything in life is an experience of learning. Life is not a single event of achievement. Nowhere in life. You know, we've all achieved many things, but your life doesn't stop the moment you achieve something. Even if you achieve something today, tomorrow morning you're still going to wake up and life is still going to continue. Life is not only about achievements. Achievements and outcomes are results of a brilliant life. We need to get that concept, we need to realize. So what is life then? Life is a journey of learning and experiencing. Life is a journey of learning and experiencing. What do you want to learn? Things you enjoy, obviously. What do you want to experience? Pleasure, obviously. So the moment you understand this, you start doing things you enjoy. What is going to happen? You're going to start learning. Learning what? Learning how to tweak it, learning to do better. Learn maybe that, oh, I really enjoy this particular area. You know, my friend, it's an artist. Now, there's many forms of art. There's pottery, But let's just go with the painting arts. There's oil, there's water paints, there's acrylic paints, there's charcoal sketches, there's pencil sketches, there's spray can painting. There's a variety of different ways in which people can create art on a canvas. Some artists specialize only in charcoal drawings. Some artists specialize only in oil paintings. So ask a simple question. How did they find that out? Well, they realized they enjoyed art. So what did they do? Tried a variety of different art forms until you realize this one, I'm taken by it. This one, I just get the dots just connect. Something magic happens when I do this. Now you focus on it. Any other questions?
Yeah, so another one that we have from Deon is it possible to acknowledge, to avoid wanting to acknowledge your true driver? And probably just to add on to that, if it is, how do you circumvent that?
Let me just get that question correctly. Is it possible to ignore your...
No, to avoid wanting to acknowledge your true driver. So that her little question is it possible to avoid wanting to acknowledge your true driver?
It's possible to avoid it if you want to punish yourself. You know, how many times have you heard the statement when people say, I self-destruct? Have you heard that before? Self-destruct is when you avoid acknowledging your true driver. That's self-destruct. We all know what makes us happy. We all know what makes us unhappy. We all know, I'm going to say this again, we all know what makes us happy. We all know what makes us unhappy. If you really, really struggle with it, go see a coach to help you on it. Go see an NLP practitioner. Go find someone. I see always got a lot of coaches on the register. Go find yourself a really, really, really good one. But you know, every single person in this world knows what makes you happy. It's very simple. Go through life for the next week, experience a variety of different things, and notice which one puts a smile on your face, which one makes you happy. It's very easy. It's not that complex. But we can get stuck in paralysis by analysis because a lot of people, you know, and this is the one thing that I giggle about. People expect truth to always be this massive revelation and epiphany. People believe truth, real truth, that aha moments to be magnificent, life-changing moments. No, that's not true. That's probably why we miss it so often. Very often, the biggest epiphanies in your life are the most simplistic things you don't focus on. Because we're always searching for that huge moment. You see, what we do is we listen to motivational speakers that have had these impactful moments where angels came down and I don't know what happened in there, you know, like, these magnificent, beautiful moments. Most of us don't have those. It's the exception to the rule to have these magnificent moments. Most of us just have moments. So let's just start focusing on those moments and those small enjoyment and pleasures in life. And you know, how many times have you walked past a flower, just stopped and looked at it and said, oh, beautiful. Those moments are more important than the odd, massive epiphany moments. Because the odd, massive epiphany moments makes you believe that that's what life is about. That's not what life is about. Life is about all those small, magnificent moments every single day. Those small, continuous moments of beauty and bliss and joy and pleasure. That's what makes us happy. A consistent state of bliss is by far more satisfying than the odd extreme peaks of extreme happiness. I would much rather be lacquer blissful and happy and joyful most of the time than be miserable 90% of the time and have the odd moments of pleasure. Makes no logic sense to me whatsoever. Start shifting the way you look at life. Guys, you get born here, you're going to die here. That's the reality we know. So I've got a simple saying, and I borrowed this from Richard Bandler. You got born here, you're going to die here. How much pleasure can you handle in between? How much pleasure can you handle? You know, we go through life and we say, yes, but I have to be responsible. I have to punish myself to be a good human being. Oh, rubbish. How much pleasure can you handle? How much fun can you have? How much of what you really enjoy can you do? If you look at successful people, I mean, you know, one of my biggest heroes is Richard Branson. Now, everybody here should know who Richard Branson is. How much money does he have? Can anybody tell me? You know what his biggest problem is? He cannot count his money because his money, his number in the bank is changing too fast for him to be able to count it. Now, does he wake up on a Monday morning? Does anybody believe this? That he wakes up on a Monday morning and he says, I wonder how much money I'm going to make today. No, he doesn't. Go read his biographies. You know what he does when he wakes up? He wakes up in the morning and says, I wonder what fun I'm going to have today. I wonder what I'm going to do that's going to give me pleasure. What he's done, one thing that's made him successful is he's found a screwdriver. He's described the intent. His intent in life is to find something and make it better. To find a business that he can do better. That's his intent. That's what gives him pleasure. That is what satisfies his true driver. Now the strategy has become very easy. And the outcome of it is a magnificent result. And the outcome is not something that is pushing. What is pushing is the intent. What business can I find that I can make better? That's the intent. That's what he bases his life on. Not the outcome. The outcome is the result. Again, make that shift. It's not about the outcome. It's about finding your intent. And to find your intent, you need to find your true driver. Is that ringing true to some of you guys? Can I get just a couple of yeses if this is ringing true? If some of you guys is going, this can change, this can make me better. Okay, I've got some yeses coming through. Yep. Thank you, Michelle. Well,
yeah, and don't worry, because we still have a couple of questions to go through, but we definitely want to dive into each one with a bit of depth individually to make sure that they get answered correctly. So we will get to all the questions. And the next one, if perhaps this is, you know, if you want to achieve one goal, but someone says if she feels she's good at giving trainings and obviously wants the flexibility that that being a coach and that being an entrepreneur has. However, she struggles with running her business, getting clients, advertising perhaps.
Yeah.
And so how would you deal with that?
Every area. Now, one of the areas in life, or one of the things I like teaching people, I mean, I've been in this industry, the coaching industry, full-time now for 12 years. And I've experienced it from a variety of different angles. And this little lesson that I've learned is, if you've got an area that you enjoy, don't try and reinvent the wheel. Sometimes it's a good thing to tap into people that's already in that industry. Learn from them. So when I realized what I want to do for the rest of my life, what did I do? I didn't sit down and try and reinvent coaching. I went for training. So I searched, I did a lot of research. I found a person that I believed was a true master. Because to me, there's a difference between a certified master and a true master. So I went and I found someone that I believe is a true master. And I said, all right, what can I learn from this true master? And I subscribed to training. I paid money for it. I built a relationship with her. And she became my mentor and my coach. And I sat at her feet in humbleness, and I learned, and I submitted myself. Up to a point where I realized, I've got it. Whatever you could taught me, I now have it. Let me now start reframing it. So how do you get your business up and running? Go to people that's already doing it successful. Submit to them and let them teach you the smaller tricks, smaller things inside of the trade. The greatest artists in the world take art lessons. They submit to other artists and they learn. The greatest sports people in the world has got coaches that assist them to be better. Do not ever believe that you need to reinvent the wheel. Go to people that's already invented the wheel and allow their wisdom, knowledge, and understanding to be transferred to accelerate your path. If you are looking at a way how to find clients, if I may, I'm not sure if I can do a bit of a sales pitch here. Pop me an email to deon@actionfactory.co.za. I've got a course coming up in about a week's time where one of the things we do is we actually teach coaches. How do you find clients? How do you establish a internet or a social media platform of, you know, positioning yourself as an expert in your field? How do you find clients around the world? How do you connect with them? How do you convert them into paying clients? Because that's very often the trick. It's one thing having a client. It's a different thing having a paying client. So I run a full course on how to do that specifically online. How do you do that, and how do you then coach online? So, it's not an expensive course. It's actually a very, very cheap course. I run it over segments. So we teach you a first principle or concept. Then we give you a day to go and apply it. Then I teach you the next concept, give you time to go apply it, teach you the next concept, give you time to go apply it. So the course runs over just over a week. In dollar value, I think I'm charging like $100 for it, or even less. It's a very, very cheap course. But to me, it's an important skill that a coach should have, obviously. And most of my students get it for free. But it's a critical component to have. So maybe that answered your question.
Yeah, so Deon, a bit earlier, you also talked about obviously weight loss and the weight loss industry, but we have a question about how would you integrate your fears into that subject? So what she asked is, surely you would need to identify and acknowledge what you don't want in order to guide you to what you do want, and then doing that without drawing on the negative.
All right. All right. There's an old saying, you know. Or a little story about a kid and the two wolves. I'm just going to very quickly simplify the thing. Whatever you feed in life, you will have more of. So if you've got fear and if you've got pleasure, which one are you going to feed? Whatever you feed the most in life, you will have the most of. I do not believe in fear at all. I don't believe in it. I don't believe in failure. And I don't live my life according to that. If I try and understand fears and problems in life, I need to ask the questions of why. Why is this happening? Why is that happening? Why is this going? And 99.999% of the time, if you ask the question why, you're not going to get an answer. It's like asking someone that's depressed, why are you depressed? Depressed people don't know why they're depressed. So what have you done? The moment I ask the depressed person why you're depressed, I am forcing them to come up with a justifiable intellectual reason on why they're depressed. So guess what I've just done? I've just given them another reason to be depressed. In fact, I've just made them more depressed. There's no justification in asking that question towards the negative. I don't feed fears and I don't feed negatives. I am purely a towards strategist. So in other words, I don't want to know what you don't want in life. I don't understand the relevance to that. How is that important? I want to know what you do want in life. It's almost like someone that falls into a mud pit and you're drowning in a mud pit and someone comes to you. And this is what happens in life. You know, your friend is struggling. They're in a mud pit. They're drowning. And what do we do as humans? We come up to them and we say, I notice you're in the mud pit. I'm trusting that you're experiencing this and you're embracing this experience and learning from it. Why? If you understand how you got into the mud pit, it'll be a wonderful. I don't care about those questions. I don't want someone to tell me, Deon, I see you in the mud pit. How do you feel being in the mud pit? Why are you in the mud? I don't know why I'm in the mud pit. I was looking at the sky and I fell in the mud pit. How's that relevant? I want to know one thing. Where do you want to be? I don't want to be in the mud pit. That I know. Great. Where do I want to be? What do I want? That to me is pushing me in the right direction. Imagine sailing a ship on the ocean and thinking the whole time of where you don't want the ship to go. Is that what you're going to focus on? Or are you going to focus on where do you want to go? What's the fastest, the safest, the best route of getting there? That's how you cross the ocean. You don't cross the ocean by sitting on a boat, raising the sails and saying, all right, now I just need to make sure where I don't want to be. you're not going to move. You're just going to go around in a circle. Focus on where you want to be. That's how you move. Raise your cells and aim in that direction. That's how you get there. I hope I answered that question.
So what about if you want to change a bad habit or even an addiction? And someone, the person who asked the question said, for example, how do you do that with caffeine?
All right. Now we're getting into a lot of detailed coaching techniques. There are very, very specific techniques that we teach. For habits, behaviors, just a quick answer there is, and I don't have time to teach the entire technique, there's a beautiful technique called the 6-step reframe. And that's all about altering and shifting behaviors or habits. A lot of people believe that it's going to take you a long time to change a habit. If you come in my courses, one of the things I show people, and I prove it to them, you can actually alter and shift any behavior, any belief, any habit within seconds. Your unconscious mind is genius. It's brilliant, and it's capable of phenomenal shifts and changes. And you can change anything very, very quickly if you want to, obviously. So, you know, this is a beautiful technique, 6-step reframe. In fact, I think on my, I'm talking under correction, it's not available on my YouTube, but I can actually make it available on my YouTube channel for the guys if they really, really want it. So pop me a mail and I'll send you a link to the video. And you can learn how to do a 6-step reframe. Yeah. And I'll do it for free.
Yeah, so that's definitely one of the things, because there are a couple of questions coming in of people perhaps either struggling with something personally or just having questions. What we can say from our side, and perhaps THERESA can talk a little bit about that, is you know, if you are struggling with these type of personal things like addiction, it might be wise to either find some kind of professional help, and a coach can definitely help with that. And whether that's Deon or one of the people he's trained, you know, there's no magic cure, and you won't get rid of it within a day. You know, but they use techniques that have proven to help.
Yeah, I mean, we've got some coaches that are addiction coaches. There are some coaches that specialize in it. I must be a very to anything like drugs or alcohol. I personally don't like coaching people with drug or alcohol problems, and the reason I don't like it is because it's not something I enjoy. But there are people that are specialists in it, and I refer. So if you have got a problem, you want to coach, I've got brilliant coaches on my database. I can refer you. We can send them to you.
Yeah, we've also got quite a few very experienced people. We call them recovery coaches. So it's people that really specialize in addictions, and most of them, they're interesting, have had an addiction themselves previously. And they would, you know, they really know what you're going through and what to do and what not to do. But I think that's a very personal thing. And Deon can refer you to people. We can also, you know, just, even if you just go onto the website, you don't have to call us, just go onto the website and look for a recovery coach, and you'll find quite a few people there. Yeah. So yeah, don't sit, especially now, I think with COVID, people are sitting at home and we all have more time to think and go in, you know, we get caught up in problem areas. So don't suffer in silence, guys. We're all here. Reach out. Deon's detail I put on there, but you can always just phone us for Deon's detail as well.
Yeah, definitely. Look, and it's interesting you mentioned obviously with COVID and Deon, you talked about that as well with stress that has come in from that. And so that's one of the questions we have of someone who obviously has perhaps found what they want to do and found their driver. In this case, it's coaching. But obviously one of the signs of the times is that they're scared, you know, they might lose their full-time job. So how do you come over that fear of not succeeding to jumpstart, you know, wanting to, and perhaps also having to, you know, start a career in coaching?
I cannot answer every person's personal strategy because we all have our own little strategies. What I can do is I can tell you stories and decisions I made in my life, and hopefully some of you guys can learn from it. I usually ask people, you know, when people tell me I want to do this, but I'm scared of losing that. How seriously do you want to do what you want to do? When I started this business years ago, about 12 years ago, I, at that stage, had an opportunity to go into this, but I also had a very secure career. I had a very secure career. And here's the strangest thing. When I made the decision to change, I had to walk away from my old career. Everybody I knew told me I'm completely insane. I must be crazy. Why would I lose financial security on the one side and take a massive risk in an industry that I was told at that stage is completely oversaturated, by the way, which is a complete lie. We are undersaturated. We still need a couple of million coaches in this world before we get even close to that number of saturation. And one of the things that I did is I actually, and this is going to sound very strange to people, I was offered shares in companies and I gave it back. I walked away from it. I actually walked away deliberately from extreme security the moment I stepped into wanting to start this business. Too many people believe that you need, and I'm gonna shatter some holy cows here. I'm going to shatter some beliefs, hopefully. And I'm probably, to a certain extent, I actually want to offend a little bit of people living in their comfort zones. Your comfort zone and your safety nets and your belief that your job is giving you security is probably one of the biggest reasons you're not experiencing joy and bliss. Sometimes holding on to things we believe create security is probably the worst thing we can do. You need to shatter those things. Sometimes you need to burn bridges because that's the only way you're going to move forward in life. When I started this business, I deliberately burnt my bridges. I destroyed my safety nets and my security because I understand how my brain works. I had to put myself in a position where there was only one single choice ahead of me, and I was making it happen. That's the way I did it. I literally, I had a wife and I had kids at that stage. I had bonds, I had cars, I had everything. So no one can, say, yeah, but it was easy for me. No, it wasn't. I had 3 months salary in the bank when I started this business. I took a massive risk. But here's the strangest thing. When I did that move, everybody I knew, my friends, my family, my colleagues, my best buddies, people that love me, told me, Deon, you're insane, you're crazy, you're stupid. What are you doing? The same people today are telling me, Deon, you're a genius. You saw a gap and you took it. Respect, brother. The difference between insanity and genius lies in the outcomes of the results. Hope that answered some questions there.
Yeah, and I think, look, in part you answered it, especially because we have another question about how do you believe in yourself and overcome your capabilities? How do you believe in yourself and your capabilities? And I feel like you answered it in part with focusing on that, but I'm not sure if there's anything else you want to say about that, specifically about that question.
There's a strange thing, in life, and that is people are petrified of taking risks. And it's a way we've been brought up because we have to be secure. I don't personally believe in that principle. Nothing in life is secure. We just realize that now with COVID. I mean, COVID must have woken up the world to make them realize that whatever you believed was security is no longer security. There's nothing in life that's secure. One of the things we teach in one of our courses, the creativity course, and I love it. The only thing that we can be absolutely, totally convinced of is that nothing in life is sustainable or is in fact, what's the word I'm looking for? Nothing in life is consistent. There's nothing that's real in life except uncertainty. There's the statement I was looking for. We can only be certain about one thing, and that's uncertainty. Because everything in life is flexible and can possibly change. So what we do as humans is we build a life based on what we believe is sustainable and what is going to create security and what's going to be constant. You know what? The only thing that's constant in life is the fact that nothing's going to be constant. Start living in a little bit, take a little bit of risk. What's the worst that can happen? And I love some of my friends, they live in a massive, beautiful 4-bedroom house. They drive to very expensive German imported cars and everything else. And then they tell me they don't want to take risks. They hate what they do. They wake up on a Monday morning, they go to work to earn money to sustain this lifestyle, but they hate it. They're in stress, they're anxious, they're depressed, they hate life. And I was like, you know what you enjoyed. What? Just step into that role. No, but I can't. The risk is too big. The risk of what? The risk of having to move from a 4-bedroom house to maybe a 2-bedroom flat and be happy? Is that risk? Seriously, is that risk? Or are we so brainwashed that we are living a life to sustain an image that's making us unhappy so that we can impress people out there that most of them we don't even like, let alone know? Maybe we just need to look at our own value systems a little bit differently. I hope I upset someone there or gave them a bit of a challenge. Any other questions, Phil?
Yeah, so one, but I think that's probably more for us. So are we going to share presentation notes? So we're going to share. We've been recording this webinar and we'll be sharing it on Facebook. We do that with all of our webinars. And Deon, I'm not sure, but you might have some pages on your website because well, you have quite a couple of interesting pages on your website. So if you want to share any of them, then just post them in the chat if they relate to the subject of today, or if you have any interesting courses, then feel free to post them in the chat, and then people can just go to them. But about the presentation, we're sharing the entire thing, so you can just go back and watch it. So there's no need for any notes. What are steps someone can take to build a successful strategy? I kind of leave it up to you whether you feel like you've answered it already, because I feel like we've touched on it in part. But
what are the steps? Let's just hear that. The steps.
What are the steps someone can take to build a successful strategy?
Well, I think to a certain extent that was what the whole session was about. Yeah. So, obviously, get your true driver, get the strategy down. When you write down a strategy, you want to use, typical coaching things. You want to make sure it's smart. You want to look at the grow models. You want to bring score models. There's a variety of 20, 30 different coaching strategies you can utilize to look at your strategy and say, is this successful or not? But and again, I want to say this, here's the problem we do. We jump too quickly to the strategy. That's the main error we've been making. We jump into the strategy too quickly. Unless your intent is completely purely defined, you're probably going to build a strategy based on what I would call a false driver, a false intent, a false value. It has to be based on a true driver. It has to be built on your true intent. And then the strategy becomes actually quite easy to build. And then you can use a variety of different goal setting and strategizing models to build that strategy. If you've got that true intent, strategy is easy to build. Just get a good coach. Did you ever come up with a strategy then hit a brick wall? Okay, I'm just going to quickly answer that. And I've heard that very often when people say, yes, but I've hit a brick wall. And my first response is, that must have broken your nose. If it did not break your nose, it was only in your imagination. I want to say that again. If it didn't break your nose, it was only in your imagination. There's no such thing as brick walls. The moment you believe there's a brick wall, you have submitted to the potential of failure. There's no failure, there's feedback. Everything is learning. There is no wall that cannot be crossed or bypassed. If your intent is pure, your strategy is flexible enough, brick walls don't exist. Let me give you an answer or an example. My entire business over the last 12 years has been built on one principle. And that principle is quite simple: standing in front of people and training a group of people that is sitting in a classroom in front of me. Then lockdown came. Now, for me to alter and shift my strategy was extremely easy, because technically lockdown closed my business. My traditional way of doing business. It stopped overnight. But because I had a true understanding of what my driver is and what my intent is, for me to alter my strategy was very easy, it was very quick. It took me not even a day, it was a couple of hours, and I had a completely new strategy restructured. I started implementing that, and a week later I started applying it into the field. And the results were magnificent, very, very quick overnight. It was like easy. But the reason I could shift my strategy easily and quickly because of the brick wall was because I had a true understanding of my intent and my true drive. I hope that answers you, because that was a good question, by the way.
Yeah. So we have one question. How do you coach a love? How do you coach someone who's lost a loved one? Before you jump in there, what I want to say from our side is, especially with these type of webinars, you know, we're able to dive into a couple subjects, but you know, to learn that specific technique, you might need some very specific training. Reflecting on what we do in the Netherlands, that will often take 5 to 7 days of specialization, because it might be a very specific situation. And so in general, what I recommend is, if you want to learn new techniques, you know, go to Deon, or go to look at other agencies, what they might be offering in terms of specialization, because each one takes a different approach, whether it's business coaching or Deon focuses more on the life coaching side of things. You know, that's definitely, you need to dive into more than we can scratch on the webinar. Deon, I'm not sure if you want to offer any tips to scratch the surface, or to start off, or just some experiences you've had, but that's at least from our side as a register, it's important to make sure that you have a deep understanding of the situation. That's something that, you know, we'll be unable to provide you with just this webinar.
Yeah, I don't think there's a short answer to how to cope with loss. And are there coaches that specialize on it? Yes, I think there's actually a coach on here. Leslie should be here. She's a specialist in coping with loss. That's how she coaching niche. So there are coaches, and if you want to get hold of a coach that specializes, either ask the ICR, or you can ask me, and I can help you connect. But that's a specialist coaching, and I'm not going to delve into that depth at the moment. I don't believe that's the platform, but it's a good question, and it's a relevant question.
Yeah.
There we go, Leslie Keller. There we go. Just details from me. So she's and she's brilliant at it. So.
Yeah, and those type of things, that they take more time, and we see that because we don't just do coaches, you know, we do people in the maritime sector and the you know, the dispute resolution sector. These type of specialization components, they do just require extra days. So one of the things we see with mediation is, if you want to do family mediation where there's also children involved, you know, that's a whole separate course from just the foundation that you learn. And the same story is true with coaching. You know, just like we have people who specialize in NLP, you have people who specialize with weight. You know, Deon, I know you did some courses on that as well. And so, you know, you definitely, if that's your drive and that's something that you want to do, which I think is what you touched on as well, Deon, dive into it and really learn more about it. And between the three of us, I think we have enough resources to make that happen one way or another.
Absolutely. And I think it's important. I mean, you know, I see Leslie just posted a thing. She's actually just partnered up with us and starting to develop a coping with loss course. We've created, and I love creating specialist course. We're busy in the moment creating a addiction coaching course, but a course like that takes months to and months to teach, and it's very specialized, and it takes a huge amount of commitment. We've got the creativity one that started. So I love doing a specialist niche market that I believe that there's a true need, and I very often partner up with specialists in that field. I don't believe one person has all the answers. I think that, you know, you got to be very naive if you believe that. So I love the principle of holding hands and taking, you know, people into the same stable, and let's share knowledge and experience and capabilities, and let's develop that to help this world become just an even more phenomenal place.
Definitely. I think that's also not a bad place to end. I'm not sure if you want to say anything beyond from your side, and now I'll let you finish off. From our side, I want to thank everyone who joined. I know we went a little bit over the time as advertised, but that's, you know, that's necessary to get to all of your questions. So most of you stayed around, so we want to thank everyone for that. You know, and like I said at the beginning, people who came back and are watching the other webinars, thanks so much. If you're new, you know, thank you for joining as well. from our side, we do more of these webinars. So we have another one coming up tomorrow from someone. She received a heart and lung transplant, one of the first in South Africa, and she obviously, because of that, had to live a lot of her life in isolation. She'll be offering some tips on how to deal with living in isolation, obviously, now that it's forced upon most of you. And next week we have a whole bunch of webinars. So Teresa will post links in the chat for that. Feel free to join them. You know, they are free, and it's a really useful place both to learn, and if you have any questions, you know, we try to collect as much knowledge and experts as we can. And like I said, we'll be recording it, so if you want to go back, you feel free to watch it back. So from my side, thank you all, and Deon, I'm sure you want to thank everyone, and I'll let you close it off. And once Deon's done, we'll just close off the webinar. So I wish everyone a great day, and I'm sure Teresa and Deon will as well.
Thanks, Gil. For me, firstly, obviously, thanks ICR for creating these platforms. I think it's brilliant. I think hopefully everybody on here will share it. The next one's this beautiful one coming up tomorrow. I'm looking forward to that. And I'm really honestly hoping that these are going to grow. ICR, awesome job, seriously. Awesome job. Guys, if you're done, I'm hoping Teresa posts your link maybe to your Facebook page or something where some of these guys can find you. ICR, you can Google it if you need to. To the people that attended, you know, there's just something I want to say. I know most of the time people say these events are free. They're not free. You have just spent your time for being here, and we appreciate it. We know your time is valuable. You've paid it forward to us, and to sit and go through these webinars and support us, and that's beautiful. I'm grateful for that. Thank you very much. If anybody does want to get hold of us, yeah, our site is actionfactory.co.za. Find me there. We've got YouTube links. We've got all kinds of stuff. I love giving away a lot of free stuff. There's a lot of free stuff on our website, on our YouTube channel. Not everything needs to be paid for. If you want to get certified, yes, sure, come pay and we'll do that. But I do love sharing information, and go and grab that information. If you like this, maybe you'll like some of the information we give away for free. Be blessed and be awesome. And hopefully we'll see you all on tomorrow's webinar. I think if I'm correct, it's 2 hours later. It's 12 o'clock, if I'm not mistaken.
It's 2, isn't it, Teresa?
It's at 2 o'clock, yes.
2 o'clock, yeah.
Bad. Well, it's 2 hours from now.
Yes,
it's almost
true. I just quickly want to mention something. Deon also mentioned the fact that we need to start helping each other a lot more. Asking questions, you know, how do I handle a situation like this? So we're going to be hosting monthly meetings. I'll send you all the dates where anyone that's a coach can sign in and say, hi, this is my problem. How can we help each other? So we will be doing that on the coaching side as well as on the mediation side, and on a monthly basis. And if you want to log in, log in. If you don't want to log in, that's also fine. But I think it's important that we start talking to each other and start helping each other, especially now in this whole process that we're going through now. But thanks, Deon. I really loved it. I made huge notes in my book. So thank you.
Okay, thanks everyone. I wish everyone a good day. You know, stay safe, and look forward to seeing you again.
Bye.
Bye.